how do you know that number? And do you know those names?
Yeah, the survivors' lawyers have told me those numbers, and they've described their professions in general, but they've only given me one of those names, and I mentioned that in a congressional hearing, Jess Staley. So I searched these documents. I didn't see Jess Staley's name, nor did I see 19 other names. And here's why we shouldn't be optimistic that Blanche or Bondi are going to release these things. They sent a 6-page memo to Congress and said they cited pre-existing laws as reasons that they weren't going to follow our law. For instance, our law requires them to release information regardless of embarrassment, but they are trying to say that a previous law prevails when it doesn't. Common sense says it doesn't. The Privacy Act doesn't protect them from that. And then also, as Rose said, internal communications, they're using a FOIA standard that doesn't apply because our law already says they have to give us internal communications.
In terms of the gentleman there you referenced as accused, I mean, being in the document doesn't necessarily prove criminal behavior, right? And in terms of the redactions, what the Deputy Attorney General said is that they were abiding by your law, and also a judge in New York had ordered them to listen to victims. So they're claiming that information that they had initially even published Friday, they had to pull down because they were trying to protect victims. You don't sound convinced that they are abiding by this intent.
No, they are not abiding, and all 3 judges who released the grand jury material said that our law trumps the prior law. That's just common sense, Law School 101. Yet Todd Blanche is using a different theory that wouldn't survive first contact with any court, which is he's trying to say that prior laws override our law. That's not the way this works.
Okay, what are you going to do about it to force them to comply? I mean, can you do anything?
Oh, absolutely. Look, people have talked about, and by the way, Todd Blanche is the face of this, but it's really the Attorney General's office, Pam Bondi, who is responsible. And there are several ways to get at this. Some take longer, some are shorter. The quickest way, and I think most expeditious way to get justice for these victims is to bring inherent contempt against Pam Bondi. And that doesn't require going through the courts. And give her, and basically Ro Khanna and I are talking about and drafting that right now.
Okay, well, I mean, on another network this morning, Democratic Senator Tim Kaine said impeachment or contempt, it is premature, Congressman Khanna. And the Deputy Attorney General said bring it on. They don't seem to be taking this very seriously. And if you just don't have the math in the Senate, including at least now this Democratic senator not being convinced, doesn't that sort of show that you're at the limit of pressure?
No, we only need the House for inherent contempt, and we're building a bipartisan coalition, and it would fine Pam Bondi for every day that she's not releasing these documents. I'll tell you why. I've talked to the survivors, why this is such a slap in the face. One of the survivors said they released her name accidentally, but they still have not released the FBI file about the people who abused her at her request. And the problem here is that there are rich and powerful people. We all know this. There are 1,200 victims. They're rich and powerful people who either engaged in this abuse, covered it up, or were on this island. And what the American people want to know is, who are these people? And instead of holding them accountable, Pam Bondi is breaking the law. And this is the corrupt system, the Epstein class that people are sick of. So I believe we're going to get bipartisan support in holding her accountable, and a committee of Congress should determine whether these redactions are justified or not.
Sometime in January when you all come back, I assume that that'll happen.